couples getting married in Indiana. A federal district judge has struck down the state's ban on same-sex marriage, opening the door now for gay couples to say, I do. The same-sex marriage landscape is changing across the nation today. Good evening, I'm Cherie Palella.
And I'm Mike Dardis. Today, a federal judge ruled the ban in Indiana violates the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution.
A federal judge struck down Indiana's ban on same-sex marriage today, calling it unconstitutional. Now, the news prompted several gay couples to head to the courthouse to get married.
What an historical day in the state of Indiana.
This wedding ceremony at the New Beginnings Church in Jeffersonville took all of 10 minutes, but for many gay couples in Indiana, this moment has been decades in the making. A federal judge struck down the same-sex marriage ban seemingly out of nowhere.
In Indiana, a tornado already caused serious damage. Jessica Hayes of our Indianapolis affiliate, Wish TV, is in Plainfield, Indiana, just southwest of the state capital.
This powerful tornado tore through central Indiana on Tuesday, winds gusting at 100 miles an hour.
Oh my God!
Ripping through a 7-mile stretch. The heavy downpour that followed led to flash flood warnings, up to 4 inches of rain pounding the area. From above, it was hard to miss the destruction the tornado left behind.
Scared to death. I didn't know what was going on.
Witnesses say the twister tossed around this RV, lifting it up and slamming it into this home. The storm ripped roofs off houses, toppled trees, and crushed cars. And even sparked this electrical fire. More than 1,700 people were left without power.
While activists are hailing separate court rulings clearing the way for gay marriage in Western and Midwest states. First, a federal 3-judge panel determined gay couples have the right to marry, impacting laws in Utah, Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, Wyoming, and New Mexico.
Now to the rivers still rising across the Midwest, hard hit by some of the worst flooding in years. More rain is on the way, and ABC's Alex Perez has the very latest, and he joins us this morning from St. Paul, Minnesota. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Robin. The fast-moving waters have been rising all week, and you can see just how high they are. Take a look at that lamppost there. It's almost completely underwater. In some areas, you can't tell where the sidewalk ends and the river begins.
This morning, heavy rains and raging floodwaters creating problems from the plains to the East Coast. In Fort Worth, Texas, relentless rains are stranding drivers in waist-high waters. A swollen creek swallowing this amusement park in Arlington, just miles away. In Pennsylvania, flash floods closing roads, homeowners evacuating their homes voluntarily.
A historic vote in Detroit tonight, and it just happened. The Presbyterian Church says yes to allowing ministers to perform same-sex marriages.
Yeah, it's the largest Christian group in the country to do so.
For so many, this day a long time coming.
We have been dealing with the issue for almost 30 years. So it's time. It's time.
Thousands gathered with about 700 commissioners from 172 presbyteries across the country in downtown Detroit Thursday to decide on policies regarding same-sex marriage. And the votes ending in favor of giving pastors the option to perform same-sex marriages in states that allow it. The biggest victory, the pass of a constitutional amendment with 70% approval that will change the church's definition of marriage. Many say this day is sending a message not just to Presbyterian churches, but to the nation.
A crack of thunder and lightning left this home on fire in Sterling Heights, and while thousands lost power in Metro Detroit, crews are working hard to restore it right now.
We're just north of 13 Mile. You take a look at that street light there. About an hour and a half ago, it finally turned on. It was off for a number of hours, so they got that restored. But take a look up and down Woodward Avenue. All the street lights are out from about 12 Mile Road to 14 Mile. Now, we're also hearing reports tonight that lightning struck City Hall in Warren. The fire department there, the police department as well, getting by with generators tonight.
Well, it's a new era in the Presbyterian Church. For the very first time, the Presbyterian Church USA will allow gays and lesbians to be ordained as ministers. Now, this new policy went into effect yesterday after a long battle with 2.8 million members. It's now the biggest Christian denomination to allow clergy who are openly gay.
And so I think the church is stronger now. And I think, you know, change is hard for everybody. For some, this change is hard. For others, waiting for this change was hard. But the church is ready to go forward, I think.
do have to get to those rare double tornadoes in the Midwest. Incredible images still coming in. You see them right there.
The newspaper this morning described it quite well, saying it looks like God used 2 fingernails to scratch the land.
Oh, dear God.
Families here in Pilger, Nebraska were praying for mercy.
Oh, another tornado.
As 2 massive tornadoes nearly erased their small town, one of them nearly a mile wide.
It's ripping up a whole town.
Take a look again, a 2-headed monster. Everyone here, nearly 400 people, had to be evacuated.
We have multiple tornadoes on the ground here.
Oh, another.
The twisters crisscrossed highways and narrowly missed cars on the road.
Oh, gosh.
Here's the moment when the giant cloud of debris just misses the city's water tower. The tornadoes made a beeline for Main Street, leveling the fire department, a church, and a number of homes. Just 100 miles down the road, another tornado struck Berlin. And this morning, families in Madison, Wisconsin are cleaning up after strong winds and reports of a tornado there too.
I've never seen anything like this in my life. Look how violent this one is.
Tornadoes on the ground here. I've never seen anything like this. I've been storm chasing for probably 10 to 12 years professionally, and this is just very, very dangerous.
Giant swath of severe weather from the Midwest tonight all the way to the East Coast. There could be some major flash flooding to forecast in a moment. But first, new images tonight of a new and massive twister. This time you can see what appears to be 4 funnels inside this sweeping tornado.
Oh my gosh. This was the moment across the prairies of South Dakota when families here knew they had to run for cover.
2 on the ground at once.
Another set of twin tornadoes were moving into Wessington Springs. When it hit 15 miles east, you could see 4 smaller whirlwinds circling inside one of the tornadoes. These were pictures families took with their cell phones. Early reports show the winds reached 127 miles an hour. Hoffman Farm, they lost everything. Severe weather stretched east, the lightning setting homes on fire in Minnesota, the high winds bringing down trees over homes in Ohio and the nation's capital.
Minneapolis already dealing with record rainfall.
President Obama is rallying supporters of gay rights. He spoke at a fundraiser in New York City last night for political donors who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. The president says that progress has been made in advancing equality, but he believes more needs to be done overseas.
So we can't stop. We've got to keep fighting. We've got to keep fighting for the human rights of people around the world.
The president is promising to sign an executive order ending workplace discrimination by federal contractors based on sexual orientation. That would affect 14